The XFL Gambling Podcast Week 2 preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks presented by WynnBET. WynnBET's now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today. Bet $100. Get $100 free bet over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply.
Hey everybody, Jim McMahon here, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. Do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
This is the XFL Gambling Podcast Week 2 preview and picks edition. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Oh, another week in the land down under doing some XFL. Ratings came out, did all right. I think did pretty good. I am joined by my host of the Bottom Line Bombs podcast, which if you're not checking that out, what are you doing, folks? They call him the man in the box. Give it up for CJ Sullivan.
Thank you, DJ Dundee on the soundboard of spinning the wheels and deals.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
That's what CJ Sullivan is. We're getting it done. We're getting it down.
You're like the Reggie Watts, or like those one man show. He does all 5 instruments. Just hitting foot pedals and like all the instruments. He records them and then puts them all out. You should do a 12-man show, but it's just you and the soundboard. It just records them. Well, there's Arlene Nemmoy. But great to be here for XFL Week 2.
Oh, I'm excited for Week 2. I love the fact they did a Thursday game. Wish they would have done a Friday one too. But
right.
Don't forget, we're gonna do our Stacking the Money Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast was on Dr. Phil. So we're gonna do a watch party of him on Dr. Phil defending sports gambling on Friday night on the SGPN app. So make sure you stay tuned there. But Thursday night we got XFL football, Saturday and Sunday, and that is why, as always, we have our guy, host of the Old Fashioned Football Podcast, third man in the booth. Give it up for Justin Mark, aka J Mark. How you doing, brother?
Doing fantastic. What a week 1. Excited to get into week 2. Love some of these lines and ready to win some DFS money too.
Have your car towed all the way to your house, and all you got for me is light beer?
I feel like that fits you. You seem like an IPA guy. Liquid Lunch. I forgot the Liquid Lunch introduction.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Whiskey Liquid Lunch. I know. It seems like so long ago because you know what it was? It was that Sunday night recap that threw us off. Because I was drinking,
That's
what I mean?
True. That's true. You didn't have a cocktail that day, I don't think.
Sunday night, no way. No drinking after watching football. Wednesday, 1 p.m., you're goddamn right. Barreled it.
The way wife likes it. Look, I know we're going to do the DFS lineup later in the episode, and we're going to talk these 4 games, but I did some deep diving. I was comparing the week 1s. I was just curious, just as a huge football nut. I love all these spring leagues. And I want people to realize that I wasn't trying to just completely shit on the XFL last week on the recap show. The rules, I'm asking if this is the best solution for us to have in the league. That's all I was doing. I enjoyed the games, but I was curious.
Just intellectual curiosity.
Yeah. First time I've ever been caught intellectual. Week 1 USFL, I went through, compared it to week 1 XFL, this go around. And J Mark, I'm curious if you've seen these numbers in general, just out there in the world, but I actually number crunched this myself. So always questionable. No, I'm joking. I feel like these are good. I went through, double checked it. Surprised to see this. So the XFL averaged 5 more points per game, right? So they averaged 40.5 points per game compared to the USFL at 35 and change. But here's where it gets a little perplexing, is that the USFL averaged a lot more yards per game. They averaged about 41, almost 40, but basically 42 yards more per game. The XFL passed the ball though 26 yards more per game than the USFL, but the USFL rushed for just about 111 more yards per game than the XFL, and the XFL also had averaged 3 interceptions per game, where the USFL was 1 and change. Probably if you round it up, I think 2. I think it was 1.6 and change. But do any of those numbers stand out to you? Are you surprised on any of those?
Well, I was surprised watching it. I mean, it explains a lot. Obviously, it was odd how little they did run in the XFL. And you think when you have little timing like they had, like 5 weeks prepare, so it is just 1 week. They didn't scrimmage. It was all just practices. So you knew it'll take a while to click. But the fact that they just kept on throwing,
interesting.
You know, very interesting. Maybe that's why a lot of the overs hit. And J Mark's blind bet of 78% of unders was derailed because of this, because they didn't run the ball as much.
Well, what's weird is, like, I think the quarterback play was better in the USFL week 1,
sure,
but they didn't throw as much.
Right. So
I don't know. It makes it interesting. J Mark, what'd you make of those numbers I just rattled off? At Jenny, catch your eye that you were surprised about?
I mean, what really surprises me about XFL scoring more points is that running clock that they have. Clock doesn't stop after incompletions and things like that. You would think there would be less points. It's one of the reasons that I liked the unders, because that clock keeps running. It's a little faster paced.
Well,
but
here's why it might be an outlier. You had a lot of pick sixes.
Yeah.
True.
Is that sustainable over week by week? I don't know. And
how many? That's a good point. Were there more defensive thrown pass touchdowns, more pick sixes than actual thrown
I should have checked that out.
Close.
Yeah, I should have checked that out. But I mean, I know what Danucci basically had 2. One of them was returned to like the 5-yard line, but just 1 true pick 6. But we know what
Perez had 2.
Yeah, and did Houston have a pick 6?
They had to have.
I feel like they might have. I feel like they
yes,
might
they
have.
did.
Yeah.
Actually, absolutely they did.
Damn, that's a lot of pick 6s. Yeah. So maybe that's diluting the numbers.
It's a good point.
We'll see if that's sustainable long term. All right, let's hop into it. I just thought,
I like it. I was intellectual curiosity. You've always been.
Yeah, thank you.
Trying to pick the brains and get the analysis. And there's nothing wrong with gathering as much information.
I mean, I was shocked at how many rushing yards the USFL's line of scrimmage, I guess, was just way better, perhaps, because you go through and look at week 1, they almost rushed for 300 yards in 3 games. Only 1 game was basically a terrible offensive game.
Right.
But what's crazy is they're not putting up the points, and I think that's probably because they didn't have the defensive touchdowns that the XFL did. Something to monitor, something to think about, but let's hop into it.
I think it's definitely more of an offensive line issue than a run, because running backs are up and down the rosters on all these fields.
But is that coaching or not? I feel like there's a lot of the same linemen in both leagues.
A lot of different first-time coaches, who don't want to run the ball.
I think that actually might be a solid point to bring up, is the first-time coaches, maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Well, then you have Hines Ward giving the ball to Kalen Ballage 55 times or whatever the hell it was.
But the USFL, I don't think had any first-time coaches. If memory serves me correct. So that's something interesting there. Guys, we got Thursday night football. Let's just hop into this thing.
Yes.
And first, J Mark, I guess XFL news. I know you want to talk about, I think, DeAndre Francois, perhaps, right?
Yeah, DeAndre Francois will get playing time per the Guardians. They've had enough Paxton Lynch already.
Wait.
Go figure.
He's not going to be first snap starter, though?
They've not clarified.
No, he's out of state first snap starter, Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, they're basically saying you're going to see a lot of Francois and a lot of McClendon. They're not saying who's going to be first. Or not McClendon, sorry, Quentin Dormady.
Dormady, right.
Interesting. So all right, let's any other news that's substantial, if I could talk, would be great. From week 1.
not necessarily from week 1, but the other thing, we did put up a poll on our Twitter, XFL Gambling Pod. Make sure you give us a follow. Just kind of seeing what people are most interested in seeing this week. 38% said BattleHawks and Sea Dragons, 36% Renegades and Roughnecks, Defenders and Vipers down at 21%, and then just 5%. Nobody wants to see the Brahmas and Guardians.
Ooh.
Can't wait to get into
until
that.
gambling plays a role.
Exactly.
Until gambling plays a role. All right, we got Thursday night football.
Can't wait.
I am actually really excited that and I think these leagues in general, whatever it is, CFL, USFL, I love all these leagues, but try to be smart about scheduling your games.
I mean, why would they use the 2 Sunday teams to play? You used a Saturday. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, but I encourage these leagues to do more weeknight games because I think it makes more sense.
Right, but I also understand when it comes to scheduling one of the alternative leagues, it's kind of like an indie band. Whatever the gig is, get in the van. We got to get there. We got to get to Indiana by tomorrow. There's no accommodations. Like if the venue's open, the venue's open. So Seattle's open on Thursday. That's what we're doing.
That's true. That's a good point.
There's a soccer game there Friday. We have no other choice. So
now I will say this. I guess we could talk for a second about the ratings. I think it was successful, but I think people probably I'm talking a little bit on my ass right now, but I think people were expecting it to be more successful. It's still successful, I believe.
Yeah.
But the numbers did come out, and the opening Saturday afternoon game on ABC between the Renegades and the Vipers averaged 1.57 million viewers. Right. Saturday night, Roughnecks and Guardians was 750,000. That was on ESPN. Technically 751,000. Then we had the BattleHawks Brahmas game on ABC Sunday. That was 1.53 million viewers. And then Sunday night's ESPN telecast of the Defenders Sea Dragons, about 918,000. J-Mark, the XFL 2.0 that we just saw prior to COVID had, I believe, it hit at 3.3 million viewers and peaked at 4.0 million viewers. Why do you think the difference is between then and now on the numbers?
Now, here's an interesting nugget on those numbers. Everything I saw said that does not include ESPN Plus numbers because that's technically streamed, not a viewership thing that is collected by your networks. So I'm wondering how much that is missing. I know that's what I watched it on.
It can't be that much. I didn't watch it on that. I watched it on just flat out ESPN.
It certainly didn't get the number where my system's rigged up to. I'll tell you that much. But I have a thing with. I think
there's no Nielsen ratings. There's a Sullivan ratings.
It's at the old jerry rig system. But I don't trust ratings in general. Begin with, it's so outdated the way they collect ratings. I mean, they use Nielsen boxes for fuck's sake. Like, who the hell has a Nielsen box? And it's like typing in, okay, I'm watching this, but I'm also tuning in now because of the halftime show. Like when they said that the halftime show got more than the Super Bowl. Who the fuck's counting? How do you know this? And who's counting this? It's just word of mouth. Oh yeah, I didn't watch the game. I only watched Rihanna. All right, we'll mark you down for 14 million then.
But the whole ecosystem,
and they represent like 10 million people.
But the whole ecosystem of
because they're idiots. TV people are idiots. Radio people are even dumber. They go by call-ins. I'm telling you, this whole rating system is flawed, especially now with the stream, like J Mark is saying, because everything is streaming now. The ESPN Plus. They have no idea.
I wonder though how many people
quantitate this.
So you watched it on ESPN Plus. I did not. I watched it on regular YouTube TV. What did you do?
Yeah, I did. I watched it on the ESPN, whatever the system is. And, it's
on the
pickup. So it is ESPN. I wasn't streaming, but yes, it wasn't.
Interesting. I wonder if those numbers will come out, but I still think they got to be happy with those numbers. It was a little disappointing. I feel like if you're an XFL
Sunday night, they had to compete with the layup line of the NBA All-Star game.
Who watches the All-Star game? Does that still do good? I haven't watched an All-Star game.
That thing was insanely horrible. It was like it was.
I wonder what their numbers. I wonder
it
what
was
their Nielsen
aggressively
ratings.
Terrible.
What was the Sullivan rating on that?
The Sullivan rating was a -5 because I was screaming at everyone at the bar for turning it on. Can we get a Defender game on one of the corner TVs instead of watching I don't even know what. So, a YouTube star.
So to compare that to USFL, which I feel like this is kind of like spring. This is like Leno against Letterman. right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, first off, USFL did the dual broadcast of Fox and NBC, and they had 3.67 million. That's kind of cheating though, in a way. You got two networks there. I don't know. I mean, I know that the FX played one of those games too for
FX
XFL.
plays Thursday night's game. Isn't that right? They only have like a million of like.
I like this move. I think it's a subtle FU because what Disney ended up purchasing FX, who was actually created by Fox, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
So this is a nice little, hey, take this. But also you had the Sunday game on the USFL. So you had the solo opener, then the Sunday game got 2.153 million, and then Sunday night was 771K. It's interesting just to compare the numbers and see.
And it's building, and they were all competitive games except for the one. And like, I think it's been nothing but pretty positive reviews. Not like outstanding reviews, but like there hasn't been too much like negative, like which is I think important, surviving that initial wave of like, oh, this is a joke. Don't even waste your time.
Yeah.
You're seeing a couple of these articles. I watched the XFL, so you won't have to. Here's a review. But then like, but then at the end, but you should, in parentheses. Okay.
And people complained about it. Look, and I complained on the show, and I mean that just because I care about these spring leagues. But I thought it was a pretty good weekend of football.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's up?
Here's the biggest complaint I kept seeing, which I think is ridiculous, but I saw a lot of, oh, this is just like college football. Well, first of all, college football is awesome. So I don't know how that's an insult.
Right, yeah.
But second of all, Colby, you kind of said it on the earlier show. You shouldn't be comparing this to NFL at all. And I think that's what too many people are doing. And that's why maybe they come away with that, oh, it's not as good. But one of the things I feel like could help the XFL is just better announcers. I was not very impressed with the announcers, especially that last game. I don't remember the guy's name, but when he was explaining, like talking to kindergartners, like, now you see those 3 lines, that's their timeouts. And that little chip under there, that's their challenge. It's like, okay, buddy, maybe don't talk to us like we're kindergartners.
The NFL point that I was trying to make on the Sports Gambling Podcast show was that they're like, hey, the quarterback plays not, oh, okay, obviously, there's a reason why these guys and The Rock is advertising the 54th man. What I hope, though, also, not only from the viewer standpoint of not comparing it to the NFL, but I also hope within the league, they don't try to just sit there and model it after the NFL in every capacity, because the reality is you're never going to have those athletes. The reality is, you might have some that get to the next level, but your highest percentage of players will not be NFL players. So to me, get creative about, your competitive edge within the league. Don't be concerned about, hey, do I need to run an NFL offense? No, use whatever you can to win the games, in my opinion. And that's how the league will build and continue to grow.
Agreed. I like that because like the NFL, like you said, it's too reliant on the quarterback, which is like 6 to 8 guys on the planet, and once they go down on a team, like they're inept, it's like an impotent offense.
So with the 49ers,
right? Exactly.
And Brock Purdy isn't one of those 6 to 8 guys either.
But but you have to be competent at least, So why not run a wing T or some shit?
Well, I just think you should encourage,
I do the double forward pass, which I love that double forward pass is a rule, but I don't see how that's ever even going to happen. Like, how much time do you think you're going to have back there? Just whipping the ball side to side before you.
It'll probably happen a couple times.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I wish it would do more trick plays too. Also, more fun, just more shenanigans.
I would just try. Like, the first thing that stands out to me is no one was very successful rushing the ball other than San Antonio. I'm curious if a team tries to make adjustments to cater to that. Or vice versa. Like, I just think there should be some more growth and innovation within trying to figure out your skill set on both offensive and defensive side of the ball. So.
I know one team. This is a good segue for us here to get us into Thursday night action.
There we go.
One team that will not be running the option again, and that's Ben DiNucci in Seattle. As they did on the goal line, as they ran option and lost the game. As DiNucci
questionable play. Look, and June Jones, I've had him on the show plenty of times. Great guy. Me and him have a decent friendship via email and learn about football and the history of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But Love you, June, but I that was a questionable play call. That was a questionable play call with DiNucci. If you have Montez, I kind of understand it.
Yes, and I even argue that Ben DiNucci did the right thing, other than fumble the ball and lose the game. He was running the option, and he realized if he pitch it and he tackles, the game's over because they didn't have any timeouts. But if he took the knee, he gets that quarterback sack. Clock stopping. So he tried. So he kind of freaked out and then tried to go down. As he went down, he fumbled the ball.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Which I found nothing about in the XFL's actual rules posted on their website. So I have no idea why they were stopping the clock on quarterback snaps.
It's a thing, though.
That's a miscommunication.
It happened during the San Antonio game. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I want to see him bring in the waggle from CFL.
Yes.
I want to see the waggle. I mean, do some kind of fun stuff like that in this developmental league. Just make it more fun for the viewers.
Absolutely, I love it.
And I mean, it's a work in practice. So, like I said, I know I scrutinized a lot of the league on Sunday night, and I believe in what I said, but I just want people to know that I enjoy this league. I feel like I got some DMs being like, "You're a hater," and I'm like, "No, I actually enjoy the league. I actually enjoy the league. I would like to see it improved in some areas." Thursday night, we do have a game. Hopefully you're watching this on YouTube, by the way. We are going live from the XFL channel, not the Sports Gambling Podcast Network channel. So
branch out on our own.
Hop on over there, type in the XFL Gambling Podcast, subscribe, people. Thursday night action. I got to be honest, I voted for this one. This is the game I want to see most on Thursday, or for this week 2 matchup. I know a lot of people are saying the Sunday night one, but to me, St. Louis, Seattle, I think, as someone that has a future on the Seattle Sea Dragons, I need them to rebound and fix this here. And I kind of think that the wrong teams 1-0 here.
Yeah.
In this matchup, I think it should be Seattle that's 1-0 and St. Louis that's 0-1. Sorry, J-Mark. I know you have a BattleHawks future. The line I'm seeing is at 3. There's a high of 35 degrees. Have you guys caught this? A high of 35 degrees. Football is alive and well. That is football weather. The total is at 36.5. I'm curious. Well, look, I'm gonna just come right out here. I already bet the hell out of the Sea Dragons -3. All right, I bet the hell out of this, and
as soon as it opened,
and I actually do lean to the over. I wonder though if the weather could damage that. I didn't bet the over or under, but if I'm forced to, give me the over. With the fact that they're throwing the ball so much, I think there's points, and obviously defensive touchdowns are a thing in this league right now. CJ, what are you doing here?
Well, I had him at 2.5, which you still can get in my bookie, by the way.
There you go,
2.5. And I was thinking this entire XFL week 2, I didn't want to overreact from week 1.
Yeah.
Although this was, and that's why I was a little timid, because the first time we were like, well, I don't care what the line, we're hammering Seattle. We all like,
but here's another thing: is does 3 even matter in this league?
3 doesn't matter. No, 2.5, 3 doesn't matter. Yeah. But this is the one I will overreact to, because St. Louis, I stick behind Coach Tony Meatball there, Anthony Beck. I don't trust him on their second road game, and AJ McCarron. I don't think AJ McCarron looked. I mean, obviously, except for the last minute, he looked good, but they're outgained by 100 yards, 324 to 235, 77 to 46 plays. I mean, it's versus San Antonio last week.
Yeah.
They got 2 turnovers. Brian Hill was nice. But other than that, I mean, they showed absolutely nothing except for a way to exploit the rules at the end. And when San Antonio's defense shook. Now, Seattle, on the other hand, first of all, that crowd's going to be lit in Seattle. They have that. They have the scarf wearing. So they have their own. It's a whole different world up there in the Pacific Northwest, where they, with the soccer and the rainforest and the trees and grunge and what I mean? Like they think.
I think it's going to be packed. By the way,
it will
be
packed.
Talk about that. I think it's going to be packed.
And they come marching in from the fish market. They start they follow each other on the street, like into the stadium. Like, what's going on up there? Like Drew Carey's in there. What the hell's happening? But I liked what I saw, except for DiNucci's turnovers in DC, and I think that's gonna be the toughest place to play. These are the 2 toughest home venues, DC and Seattle.
Yeah,
and Seattle to go in there and pretty much dominated DC.
You know what's amazing when I'm going through this box score, talking about this, and J Mark, I'm going to get your opinion on this in a second, but or your take on the game. How the hell did Seattle lose this game? They held DC to 2.5 yards a rush, and get this, 4.4 yards a pass. That's unbelievable from a defensive standpoint. How do you lose this game?
It was incredible.
Anyway,
331 yards, 177. I mean, it was well. because you're playing in DC, and they took that beer steak away, and then you got the lemon bombs. I mean, you don't just walk in to that chop saw.
Their leading receiver was the running back out of the backfield with 30 yards. I mean, talk to me about this, Matt. Well, first off, do you lean?
DiNucci, by the way, how many times did he throw to him? 54 times.
Do you lean over on that?
I do lean over, just because how much they throw the ball. I know the cold weather doesn't bother me as much there because as long as it's not rain or windy or anything in Seattle, they'll be used to it up there. Their receivers, by the way, if you wanted to DFS, Jock Pearson and Blake Jackson, 25 combined
Pearson
targets.
was my play.
25 combined targets. I mean, Pearson, 12 for 95, 14 targets. That's amazing.
And he left the game with an injury for a little bit.
Jesus.
J-Mark, what are you doing in this matchup?
I wanted to take my BattleHawks, but I just can't do it. I think going on the road, I think the atmosphere is going to be too much. And we talked about it on the recap show in that Seattle game. The wrong team won, right? Yeah. The wrong team won that game. So I think the Sea Dragons aren't going to have any trouble with the BattleHawks, especially because that BattleHawks offensive line looked bad. I think the Sea Dragons are going to get after them. I didn't think preseason, I didn't think the Sea Dragons were going to have a good defense. They showed last week that they're going to have a decent defense. So I like them to cover this. I like the over here. I think we're going to have a more high scoring game than we expect, especially after the BattleHawks only put up 18 points and most of that in the last 2 minutes. But I like the Sea Dragons in this one. Are
we at all worried? You saw this in the Arlington game where the back door was open with Vegas getting I was giving away 2.5.
Right.
Vegas ends up losing by 2. See, the problem is I just did the show, the Sports Gambling Podcast show for XFL. Everyone unanimous picks on the Sea Dragons. I mean, we're talking five people right now. Is all the money coming in? Are we could we lose on that late, backdoor cover perhaps? I don't think so. I think Seattle's going to roll.
The problem is with the XFL with these rules. I mean, it's not just the barn, the back wall is ripped open. It's wide open all the time.
Yeah.
And I will even say, and I also had Arlington 2.5, and that was brutal.
That was tough.
But at least Vegas was going to score to win the game. You know what I mean? It's not like they were down 15 and snuck a touchdown.
True. It wasn't like the other one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But but also backdoor. So you can never say the backdoor's not open because it's always open when 9 points is an option, and then they can get an easy 4th and 15 pickup for onside
you're
kick,
right. You're right. Next, what's that?
58% of the bets are being placed on St. Louis. So
I love it.
Technically, we're the minority picking Seattle for whatever reason.
That's the whole city of St. Louis who started unbelievable watching that.
Now, is that a Twitter poll, that 58% that we threw out there? Or
That's from one of the books.
One of the books. There we go.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right. Well, look, Saturday. Let's move to Saturday.
Yes,
I am very intrigued. And here we're in Southern California, me and CJ. They are expecting heavy rain all week, and guess what that means? This is not at that EDM stadium there, that EDM concert venue where the Raiders play, that I call just disgusting. This is at the minor league baseball stadium,
Cashman Field.
Yeah, and this is going to be in the rain, according to
I love it.
According to my friend here, old Doppler. But I'm very curious what you guys are doing in this matchup. I'm intrigued. I actually thought about going to this matchup. But we have the DC Defenders hitting the road. Real Money Kramer thinks that some DC fans might make the trip to Vegas and throw some lemons on the field to take on the Vipers. Vipers are laying 3. I was a bit surprised that the Vipers were a 3-point favorite. Yeah, bring your lemons, folks.
I saw 3.5, by the way. J Mark, you backed that up? I saw all these lines with the 3.5 and 4.5. Did you see that at all?
Yeah. I didn't yet, but I have seen they've been pretty volatile. They're moving all over the place.
Yeah, they're moving a flat. I mean, whatever.
I'm seeing flat 3 right now, but over under at 36.5. Same over under as the St. Louis Seattle game. So clearly, I think they're kind of guessing a little bit there. DC's plus 145 on the money line. Vegas is minus 170. I mean, I think what did. We said the wrong team won, which I do believe that if they were to play again, I would take Seattle to beat DC. But I do believe that Greg Williams is the best defensive mind in this league. And I thought he made great adjustments from the first half to the second half. And I think that defense with some of the talent, remember, we know some of those names from the USFL. So we know some of them from college football and even the NFL. I think this is going to be the best defense in the league. And I know maybe we'll see Brett Hundley. I don't know. Has there been any speculation about that, J Mark?
There has not been yet. So you got to imagine Luis Perez is going to try to play his ass off to save his job, even if it's unsavable.
Which is incredible because, all right, he needs to learn the playbook. And then you watch the plays last week. Well, what's he got to learn? Look at these. Look at this offense they're running.
Well, I mean, and Perez actually had good numbers. It was just the pick six.
Yeah, does Hundley not know how to throw a pick six? Does he not have that play down pat?
I'm all over DC here. I think Greg Williams is going to make life tough for him, and especially if you tell me a game in the rain. Well, guess what? DC only threw for like 90 yards last week.
Yeah,
they were able to.
Vegas has 0 rushing attack,
and I think if they use De'Aaron King the way we saw flashes in that Seattle game. I think this caters to the style of football that the DC defenders can play. We like their backfield, all 3 running backs. I like the defenders going up. A shout out to Ryan McIntyre in the chat. Don't make us come over to take over Vegas. We want our beer snake and Redskins name back. There we go. There we go.
Coming in hot.
Oh man, I do. I look, as a guy that grew up in the DC area, I'll co-sign that. Yeah, don't. And by the way, I don't know. I know I mentioned this on Twitter where it was like, The Rock, you guys got to fix this. The beer snake. And they're like, it's not The Rock's problem. It was the security. Who do you think fucking hires the security at Audi Field? All right. I mean, I can only assume maybe they have their set security at Audi Field, but the XFL is paying them.
I like all complaints going to The Rock, period. It's just personal emails.
And The Rock never answered me. No, I'm still waiting. I'm joking. I'm joking to Wayne, but hey, come on, man. That's part of the fun.
I will say, and you're right about that. And Moneyline Mac's right about this. This DC fan base, this is my squad this year. I have them at 7-1. I'm like, I'm all in on these guys. Because it's the perfect storm where they haven't had real football. Where the fans have been absolutely shit on by ownership for decades, over there, right? So they come and they bring this beer snake, they take it away from them. Like, are you going to take it away from them? Well, we're going to buy the shitload of these fucking vodka lemons and launch these. What a brilliant idea is. Let's give these fans lemon projectiles. All right, so now they got rid of the vodka lemons. Now, all right, next week we got bourbon battery drinks. Like, what do you?
And I'll have you guys know that I have a lot of friends. Obviously, I grew up in the DC area that have purchased tickets. Not to the Vegas game, but the following week when they're back at Aldi. And guess what? There's going to be some lemon smuggling.
They're going to bring in lemon.
There's got to be some lemon smuggling.
Lemon smuggling
going
is
on.
Amazing.
Nice little lemon dust up.
I like them staying one step ahead of security. They're like, well, you haven't banned this yet. I can make my own wet bar, right?
Go through the X-ray machine. No problem. You got a lemon detector. All right. Guys, I'm all over DC. I'm taking a plus 145 on the money line.
I love it.
And I lean towards the under, considering the rain and considering DC's not very. Well, they weren't very successful passing the ball in week 1. What are you doing here, CJ?
I'm also on DC. I saw 3.5. I'll take the plus 3. I saw 160, whatever. I'll take the plus. I'll take the points with them. I do lean under. Of course, you're saying with that defense.
Yeah. And the rain.
Perez is so volatile too. I can't not believe they're not going to throw Hundley out there. I'm a little worried about, Jeff Bidet had a great night for them. I mean, they moved. They were playing well.
First half. Yeah.
Except for those pick sixes. Martavis Bryant, 9 targets, Bidet, 9 targets. But they just cannot. They did not even try to run the ball, or they just can't run the ball. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
John Lovett is a running back, I believe. And so if it is going to be raining out there in a mini Vegas ballpark, I think I'm not going to get off DC now, especially for Luis Perez. Yeah. I think it's I don't. Not that I don't understand this line. I get it because DC didn't look great. People consider them lucky. But I think they were playing a really good
defense.
Seattle
played
team.
Great.
Yeah.
And the adjustments where Seattle was moving the ball, Greg Williams deserves all the credit. I'm a big Greg Williams fan.
Yeah.
2 G's.
So if you can find that plus 3.5, I'll grab it. But also I like the money line. I think DC keeps rolling.
Is J Mark riding with us, or is he going with his boy? What are you doing here, J Mark?
So 64% of the bets on DC. Everybody's agreeing with you. This was a tough one for me because you guys know I don't like Luis Perez. I don't like Jordan Ta'amu. which quarterback to go with. But I think you're going to see more of Derek King than you did in week 1. I think they're going to mix him in more, and he is an electric player. We saw it in college. We saw it a little bit. He started opening that offense up with his running ability last week. So I think I have to go with DC here. But I'm going to take the over. I'm going to shift a little bit there. I think Luis Perez did do a decent job moving that ball down the field. And I think he'll, even against that good defense of DC, I think he's still going to be able to kind of dink and dunk a little bit.
They got weapons.
They do. And I think DC is going to counter and have a better offense than they did in week 1. I mean, they have to. They threw less than 100 yards. They have to get better. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with the over on this one, but I'm riding with DC as well.
Real quick, I want to throw a personal apology to their tight end Ethan Wolf of the DC Defenders. I
ran into him at a bar.
Well, no. But Jay Marker in an XFL fantasy football league that I joined in late. I use it more of an educational purposes, and then it auto picked Ethan Wolf as my second tight end. And during a live broadcast that we threw out there, and I might have called him a piece of shit. And it was not personal, Ethan. I'd take a step back from that. It was more of me being angered about the system and the computer. Turns out he's my best tight end. He had 4 targets last week, only 1 for 12, but I like his future, and he's my guy now. Ride or die the Wolf Pack, baby.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, look, that's the way. And by the way, you guys got to play some XFL fantasy football.
Not? It's great.
CJ Sullivan saying
it's easy to see a tide turn.
All right. Now we move over to Sunday, where the San Antonio Brahmas, the Chickens, are heading to Orlando. The world is this. Where are they playing this? World Camping Bowl?
Yes, Camping World Stadium. It's called 60,000 people. Jesus, but it's old. 86 years old.
I'm wondering what the turnout and what do you guys think the Vegas turnout will be? You think that'll be pretty good? If it's raining, I'm going to say no.
Well, it's one of those small stadiums like DC. It only seats like 12,000, right?
Yeah.
So I think no. You know what? I think Vegas locals. This is the kind of team they can get behind. You know, an XFL like that hockey, like that people are like, give them an NBA team and NFL on the Raiders and stuff like but that prices them out. The Vegas locals.
Yeah.
It's a good scene down there. They're good people. You know what I mean? There's that whole like arts district, it's like it's a little methy, but they like things like this. So it's more in the price range is what I'm trying to say.
What do we think?
My kind of people.
What do we think about Orlando though? Cause I remember, but go back to the AAF Orlando Apollo. Steve Spurrier was coaching that.
All right.
Not the greatest fan turnout, surprisingly, because Florida loves football, but I was surprised that they didn't come out and support the Apollos. So it's a big stadium, and I think that's another thing that
Cheez-It Bowl and shit there.
They should hit. The XFL should hit more of those soccer stadiums.
Absolutely, that's why DC looked amazing last week.
Yeah, I think it's perfect.
12,000 where it can only fit 15,000 looks incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious here. This one seems so obvious. I feel like everyone is going to be on this play, and I know Vegas probably afraid to touch it. Afraid to set the line too big because who knows after 1 week of XFL football where you've never seen the Orlando Guardians and you don't even know who's starting at quarterback here. Guardians are catching 3, home dog plus 145 on the money line. The over under though at 38.5. They think it's going to be a little bit more scoring than the other 2 games, and I guess if Paxton Lynch plays, you can count on that. 88 degrees. Nice and sunny is what I see. I mean, this one's too easy for me, and I worry that. I mean, first off, they turned the ball over 4 times. Eli Rogers had the fumble, and then just 3 interceptions. This is a slam dunk where you got to go right with Hines Ward in the Brahmas here. I feel like the Guardians are like the Pittsburgh Maulers of the USFL. I've mentioned this, or go back to the AAF, the Atlanta Legends or something. I feel like this is the one team that has shown us absolutely nothing. But DeAndre Francois didn't play, so maybe we could eat shit here. CJ.
Yeah. Say you, not we, because this is my dog of the weekend right here. I've been telling you my Orlando theory since episode 1. When you get them in Florida.
Yeah.
When all the ankle bracelets are off and they're allowed to fire and all first snap starters. Francois, unleash him all. I like Orlando.
Money line plus 145.
I'll take Orlando plus 145. I don't think they are that bad of a team. First of all, I mean, they look bad. And the reason why they look bad was the 4 turnovers. Yeah. If you look at the stats of that game, it was pretty even.
They did a lot more offensively with the exception of the turnovers than DC did.
Every single stat. The yards, 314 and 337. The plays, 62-65. The time of possession, exact same. And Paxton Lynch threw a pick. Then Dorme threw a pick. We're going to get Francois in there. They have a lot of weapons. Eli Rogers, Corey Latimer, JK's guy, our guy, the ghost receiver, Jamil, who we gave out with a nice touchdown. Yeah. I mean, I think them at home, it's 3, and I know it'll be at 3.5. I saw 3.5 in my bookie. I'm sure if you wait, it will be plus 3.5. But I'll take them. I think Orlando. I think it's just too much of a reaction of people dismissing Orlando being this terrible already, and I don't think they look that bad. It was just a lot of turnovers and a lot of narrative of Paxton Lynch. He's easy to make fun of.
I do feel like everybody is going to be hitting on. Right. San Antonio minus 3
because it's already established that Orlando's the worst team. Like it's undebatable, you know. And anytime it's that certain, I like to go the other way.
J Mark, what are you doing here?
Yeah, 77%, by the way, on the Brahmas.
No, I love it. I love it. That's what I love to hear.
I forgot to mention this in my news. Brahmas receiver Landon Akers placed on injured reserve. They signed Dan Williams. In 2020, Jalen Tolliver and Dan Williams combined for 44 receptions, 635 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 5 games under former offensive coordinator Jamie Elizondo. Now, whether he can pick up that playbook right away or he pulls a Hundley, we'll see. Landon
Akers was the number 1 receiver last week, by the way. 7 targets, 7 catches. That's not small news.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not
absolutely. I was really torn on this one because it's hard to back the Guardians, but I was touting Francois in preseason. Thought he should have been the starter right away.
He will
None
be.
of this first snap starter shit.
Was he injured last week? Why did he not see the field at all?
I know.
He can't leave Orlando, remember?
Right. Not allowed to leave the state. Not allowed to leave the state of Florida. Bring it up with the law.
I'm so confused though, because I was expecting when they pulled Lynch, I was like, we're going to see Francois. And look, I'm a believer. I remember him at Florida State. I thought the guy had talent.
They didn't want to show him any tape. They don't want to show the Brahmas any tape.
Save it for the World Camping Bowl.
So I'm taking Brahmas on the money line, but I'm taking Guardians in the points.
Ooh, trying to thread a needle there.
That's right.
Man, that is.
I do lean over here on 38.5, even though they're putting that line higher, 2 points higher than the other 2 games. I lean over.
I don't know what I'm going to get out of San Antonio though. They were solid. Hines Ward just ran the shit out of the ball.
They missed,
the only team
they missed
to do
some
that.
kicks, right?
They did miss some kicks for sure. And then that defense was great until, I mean, blame the rules all you want, but that defense did choke at the end.
They did.
I mean, absolutely. After they had opportunity after opportunity, just let everything to the sideline. It looked too easy for her.
Yeah.
AJ McCarron.
Yeah, definitely. So okay, we're all split on that one. That's interesting that's the one we're all over the place.
That's a literal 3-way split because you have San Antonio, I have Orlando, and J Mark has both San Antonio and Orlando.
That's right.
I love
Bound to be right on one of my picks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
and
lock up a loss. That's what
some people say this is the game of the night here. Arlington heading to Houston. This is one where I believe the weather once again is supposed to be 81 degrees. I don't see maybe a little bit of clouds, but should be hot there in Houston. And this is the one where, I was surprised that everybody I have talked to, Discord, wherever, everyone's kind of sold on the Houston angle. And I think I see great value. You want my dog. My dog here in this matchup is going to be Bob Stoops. They're plus, so they're getting 4.5 points. Plus 165 on the money line. Now this over under set at 40, which is by far the highest total. And call me crazy here. I think Houston's overvalued because they played Orlando. I mentioned this on the recap show on Sundays, which by the way, we're doing a recap show every week, folks. It might be on Sundays, most likely. Sometimes Mondays, probably after March Madness, but tune into that show. I'm on the Renegades plus 4.5, and I'll let you know I already bet it plus 165 on the money line. Woo! Let's fucking go. Yes. And over under, I do lean Under.
Yeah, you gotta like it under there.
I lean under because Stoops, what is he? Defensive mind. What is Wade Phillips? Defensive mind. Give me the under in this game. CJ, what are you doing here?
I like what you're doing with Arlington too. I think Houston is way overvalued here. I mean, they're good. I'm not going to say they're not good.
You can't say anything bad about it. They did what they had to do. They look good.
Love Wade Phillips, but Arlington did not look great, obviously. But Stoops did show something with his adjustments. You know what I mean? With the
great second half adjustment, just like Greg Williams. I thought they did a good job.
Just like Greg Williams. And so they got the Pizzagate running back, Davion Smith, Drew Plitt. I still don't know what they're doing there with Drew Plitt. But
I wonder if we might see Slaughter if Pitt struggles in this game.
And Sal Camelo looked fantastic, of course. Number 1 USFL tight end, stepped right on in. Didn't miss a beat. 8 targets, 7 for 70. Houston with Max Borgi, and then I mean they still got Brandon Silvers. They have tons of weapons, and then to mess around with my guy Cole McDonald like that as well.
Yeah,
to bench him and then bring him in for goal line packages to do his.
Yeah, I wonder if we see a stronger dosage of EIEIO in this game.
Either way, I think it's going to be the game of the weekend. Again, the Sunday night game is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
I like this game.
Yeah, me too.
I think two
starting an hour earlier than the game last week, but
so I just think Arlington bounced back from not looking good, but pulling out the win with Houston looking great. Hit them on the way down, the value wise plus 4.5. How can you not with these rules? How can you not take plus 4.5 with a competent team like Arlington?
You go under too?
I would lean under. I don't want to touch it just because I think Arlington's going to show a little better on offense than they did. They got lucky to score, obviously, with his pick sixes.
Yeah.
And but I would definitely I wouldn't bet the over, but I would definitely lean under, but I don't want to touch the total. I like Arlington plus 4.5 a lot more than anything there.
I agree. J Mark, what are you doing here?
Yeah, so just for our betting splits here, 78% of bets on the money line for Houston, 76 on the spread. I'm with you guys. I think this is an overreaction. I think Arlington is a better team than they looked.
Yes.
You're going to have some offensive corrections, and both these teams are good on defense. So I think you're going to have a low scoring. I like the under close game. So the fact that we're getting 4.5 points this early in the season for the XFL, I think is crazy because you have 1 week to base that off of. And like you said, Colby, that's against the Guardians, who we all kind of feel is the 8 of 8th team. So yeah, I'm definitely going the Renegades here, taking the points. It's going to be a good game. I'm interested to see how it plays out because I do think we'll have a defensive battle, but definitely riding the Renegades.
What is your top lock of this week 2? The game that you feel best about. If we took all your money out of your wife's account and said you gotta bet something.
The whiskey account, make it hurt.
I know.
Make it something cares about.
I was walking into my office here with my whiskey. She said, "Tell the boys hi." I'm taking her money. I'm putting it on the Sea Dragons.
Nice.
I think that's my favorite one too. I think I'm taking Seattle -3 as my favorite play. What do you?
I hate that we're all on the same thing, but yeah, I have Seattle
play.
And I even had a 2. I mean, literally as soon as it came out, it was 2.5. I hammered money line at like -140 something low because I do want to throw it out there. These XFL lines, not only volatile, but they move like every day, and it's fast. So if you want to get them on them early, they're wise to get in on early, and that's why I think. And all the dogs I took, they're all got the hooks, like the 4.5, 3.5. That's crazy.
Well, I was about to ask, what dog do you like best? Because I can tell you this: I'm doing a parlay of Defenders +145 and the Renegades +165. But if I had to isolate one that I trust the most, I actually think I like the Defenders to win the most as a flat out money line dog. J Mark, how about you?
Fade Luis Perez under pressure. I like that pick. Defenders.
Yep. Give me and give me the Florida Vandals. Yes. I like the narrative of Orlando, how everyone is just absolutely written them off already as the worst. Before the season started, they were going to be middle of the pack bad, not the worst. Traditionally fade them, auto fade because of that bad. And I don't think they played that bad.
It's just one game of football.
One game of football, and it was just and they turned it over 4 times.
Fair.
So I like Orlando as my dog.
All right, we're gonna shift over to the DFS side of things. What's that? You good, J Mark? You say something? Am I just hearing things?
I don't think I said anything.
That was me slapping papers. It sounds like a lot of things. And
still
and
the man in the box. If you're watching on YouTube, you look at these. He's deep. He's got notes. It's like you're at a doctor's office.
I bring papers and passion. My clipboard's in the other room, but I do bring papers and passion.
It's like when the doctor's just rattling through papers and you're getting all nervous. Like, what do I have?
Because you have to have emotion, right? And you can't slam a laptop down, and you're down 1,500.
All right, look. Before we get to the DFS portion, which we're very excited. Remember, week 2, USFL. I got a crowbar the fact that I finished first out of the whole entire DFS slate, which was a couple thousand people.
Wow,
a couple thousand people.
It's amazing.
Finished first week 2. Watch all of week 1, and that's another thing. It's like the best part about the ESPN Plus, and I saw people asking about this. How do I watch the games? They're there forever. You can go to ESPN Plus, go to the search engine.
Coach study.
You can watch. I've already watched these games a couple times. You know, I'm deep into the XFL, buddy, the Extreme Football League. All right, before we get to DFS, I want to tell you that the XFL Gambling Podcast Week 2 preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, presented by WynnBET. WynnBET's now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today. Bet $100. Get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions. WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older. Present in the state where WynnBET is available. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Also, we're brought to you by the SGPN merch store, which I want you guys to check out because we have some brand new. And I don't know if you follow J Mark on Twitter at JMarkFootball or CJ Sullivan on Twitter at CJ Sullivan _ or myself at the Colby D and the XFL Gambling Podcast. But we have some brand new, just absolute fire XFL gear. What are you doing? Get some t-shirts. Sports your team. All right. Come on. All you lemon heads there in DC. Why don't you get a DC Defenders style XFL Gambling Podcast shirt? Show up to the game. Our studies show that your chances of getting ass go up 97.4% when you wear new clothing, especially from the SGPN store. Deep dive we did where we interviewed 3 people. All right.
And how that turns into 90 out of 3. It's exact kind of math that got us to these numbers that we gave out for XFL week 2 picks.
Very true. Very true.
I do want you guys to know the merch store. Everything is just amazing, by the way. Yeah. But I went on there to get my XFL Gambling Podcast, and then I thought, I need another old-fashioned football T-shirt, so I got another one of those.
Flex.
Got 2 for the wife, and then I was like, I need a Man in the Box T-shirt. Got one of those.
Yes,
then
sir.
I was like, damn it, I need a USFL Gambling Podcast. I need a college. You guys are costing me a lot of money, but I bought them to support y'all and look good. So
you're gonna make it all back with Seattle. What do you care, baby? You're free roll.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Danucci has got you covered. All right. And look, speaking of that, I'll just jump right into this DFS roster.
Yeah.
I am gonna die hard in this scenario here. I went with Danucci last week.
All right.
Cost me a little bit, but he threw for a lot of yards. Did have a little Mahomes fling to Josh Gordon. I think he dots the I's and the lowercase J's here. I got Danucci. Look, he's expensive. $10,200.
Yeah, 10-2.
I'm going back to the well. I think he bounces back. He's playing a St. Louis defense that, I mean, they didn't look awful last week, but they also didn't look amazing. I think there's opportunity here. Who you going with at QB?
I also went to Danucci. I mean, the 52 pass attempt, just the sheer volume alone is just amazing. Although I am tempted to get Francois in there if they just won't announce that he's starting.
Not only the 52 pass attempts. I feel like the fact that you go back to June Jones with the Houston Roughnecks, you barely saw him use a QB2. I think he's traditional, old school. That likes, June Jones was a quarterback, played for the Atlanta Falcons, the Toronto Argonauts, out of Portland State, and he knows that. I don't think he likes to say, hey, let's play 2 quarterbacks. So in a league where I think we're going to see a ton of 2 quarterbacks,
good call.
Give me the solid where I think he's going to get majority. I know Montez came in for 2 snaps, and I don't even know if that was organized or if that was maybe Danucci maybe had to go to the John. You know what I mean? But something was weird there because we never saw Montez the rest of the game, and he didn't make a bad play or something.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, Indy's like you said, 52, the sheer volume. It is at home. There's not going to be many lemons being thrown at him in this game. That was just a tough environment. I didn't mind what I saw to DiNucci last week. I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
Except for, he did some classic DiNucci stuff, but that was a tough environment.
And there's no Greg Williams going against him. Greg Williams,
That's what I mean.
Yeah, ultimate defensive mind. J Mark, what are you doing at the quarterback spot on the DFS side of things?
All right, I'm going to preface this with 2 flexes. One, my DFS week 1 did win money, so there you go. 2,
nice.
Been helping alt fantasy sports a little bit. If you still want to play season long fantasy, you can still draft. It's not too late just because we're 1 week in, but been helping them with some projections. And this lineup is based off of who is projected to score the most. Bunch of formulas came up with by our own Adam Pelletier. But anyways, I actually want to play Nooch because I don't like the guy that's projected to score the most, but I'm going to throw him in here because I'm just going off of those projections. So give me Luis Perez. I'm nervous with him. Nervous with him against that defense.
Talks a lot of shit, CJ, and then look what happens.
I mean, he's most hated. You're trying to reverse jinx him? Is that what's going on?
In my own lineup, I think I will have to go with the Nooch because that's what I had. But the projections say Perez should have the best game this week. Even though I'm nervous with him against that defense, but
I would be too. But also, like I said, they just don't run the ball at all. So Perez is going to give you something.
Yeah,
he's going to give you touchdowns. He's going to give you picks. But someone's getting a touchdown when he throws the ball, either defense or his guy. Someone's getting.
Doesn't Brett Hundley make more than him?
Oh, of course. Right.
Yeah. So at what point do they go with their investment?
It's got to be soon, you would think.
Yeah, he's still.
Which is why in my lineup I am having Nooch, but I can't just follow you guys. Can't do it.
Right.
So I'll go with what the model says for now.
Not to tout my own, not to tout my own DFS things, but it was a double my money contest where half the entries you win, half the entries don't win. So I came in the top half of 500.
There you go. There you go. Flex. Yeah, flex.
Playing a long game.
And shout out to Adam Pelletier as well, because I know he wanted to hop on this episode, but he was occupied because he wanted to talk trash to me about he likes the 4th and 15 or whatever onside kick. We welcome him. I think we're going to get him a little
longer than 15 yards.
Yeah, I think.
To be honest with you, 15 doesn't seem that hard.
Give me 4th and 40, and I'm okay.
There we go.
All right, 4th and 40. I'm sick of these filthy offenses getting every benefit. All right, running back wise, I'm going back to the well again. I mean, look, I rostered 3 guys that I rostered last week.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Hill is going up against Seattle's rush defense, which actually played pretty well against DC. But part of me thinks that I think DC and Hazlitt, obviously defensive mind. I just don't know that I can fully count on them based off that one game to be like a dominant rush defense.
Yeah.
And what can St. Louis do, to me to stay in this game against a high powered offense? Milk the clock. Yes, I know when incompletions, the clock rolls. Doesn't matter. Milk the time of possession. All right. The time of possession. Give me Brian Hill at 7,300 Thursday night. I'm excited. What are you doing here?
Well, I like that as well. I mean, I had him written down as the one guy to own for that team, I think, for sure. But I'm going to go with, I'm chasing numbers a bit here, but Kellen Ballage at 7,100.
Yeah.
He only had 24 rushing attempts. 4 targets, 3 catches. True. What is Hines Ward doing out there? And which kills me because I love Jacques Patrick. He's my number 1 pick in the fantasy. I picked him last week for DFS. I love what do they do? Let unleash this guy. But I mean, I think he's just going to run him. He's just run him to the ground until he's done with it. It seems like Hines Ward doesn't give a shit about the health of these guys.
Well, you got to wonder though, and if they're up a lot, what are they going to do? They're going to run the ball,
right? And that is 3 times the amount of carries that anyone had in the entire league last week.
That's wild.
So just for opportunities alone, I'll give Ballage, and he's an NFL running back from Arizona State, the old Dolphin.
J Mark, who's your top running back?
So I'm going to go with the guy from Houston who seems to be their bell cow. Heard his name Borgie and Borgie.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was Borgie. We'll call him whatever, but give me Max Borgie.
That music means he's on my roster too.
Yes.
Look, we're a Mike Leach podcast. You see the page or the pirate flag there. Mike Leach, rest in peace, good friend of the program. And Max Borgie is a Mike Leach guy. All right. But also he flashed in week 1. And he actually had a play, I think, called back too, that would have had his stats go even further. What What do you make of the board you play? You got board?
Love
you
Borgie.
you got a board on your roster?
I had it written down. I mean, I only have the one running back, so I went with Ballage, but I do have. Borgie's great. We've been talking Borgie since episode 1 here. You have the. This league is made for those white, shifty, skilled players that fit through the cracks. Your ghost receivers of Jamils and your Max Borgies of the world.
Did you hear what the announcer said? They called him the Swedish chef, Borgie.
Oh,
it's like
is that what made you have to know why you want different announcers? Now I'm on your side, J Mark. You're right.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's
what
good.
A reference that is. Way to bring in the new fans.
I actually rostered 3 running backs. I'm dying hard, even though this goes against everything that I researched.
Yeah,
because they didn't run the ball much.
Yeah,
I still rostered 3 running backs. The uncertainty of the wide receivers from team to team, I feel like is something that I fear.
I like that you're fading yourself. I am
fading all my
your intellectual
deep dives.
Right.
But okay, my top wide receiver. So I've given away 3 of my guys because Borgie actually give away so we keep on the same length here. Who is your third guy essentially?
The
your top wide out because you only have 1 running back. You said
one running back. I was Ballage.
Yeah,
we went DiNucci. I went Josh Gordon just for the hook up there 10-4. He's expensive, obviously, but he's going to show out on a primetime game like that. And that was just he had a mediocre game, which was still 67 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
in a tough environment through the shuffle. I can imagine what's going to happen in
Seattle
this Thursday night primetime, which we all love. We think it's going to be a Seattle party.
Yeah, definitely Seattle party going on there. J Mark, who's your top price wideout or your second running back?
All right, so super fan of the XFL Gambling Podcast, James Kowalewski, used to coach Warren Thomas, who's on injured reserve, but he is on the Houston Roughnecks. Sent me a little tip right before kickoff. Hey, what guy has stood out to you? And Warren Thomas said Deontay Burnett, and that paid off. Deontay Burnett had a big day.
Monster game.
I'm riding with him. He reportedly continues to stand out in practice, so let's go with that. Deontay Burnett is my top wide receiver.
Yeah,
love that play.
Shout out to the Coach Pole.
I
love his thing.
Deep dive in there. That's why you follow the XFL Gambling Podcast and J Mark Football,
who tweeted at us. He went to the Houston game, right?
He did, yeah.
Good. Go. Shout out to him.
Shout out to shout out to everyone going out there supporting spring football. We love it. Get yourself out to a game. It's more affordable. Shit, you go to an NFL game, it's like $3 million. All right,
I know,
dude. Oh
parking
my
alone.
Gosh, yeah. What's the new Ram Stadium?
Good Lord.
Oh
dude.
my God.
SoFi parking is like $150 there.
Dude, everything about that stadium is expensive and, in my opinion, terrible. My top wideout. I'm going back once again. Back to the track. All right.
Mm-hmm.
How many targets did my guy Pearson have?
Let me look up Pearson. I have.
You told me this just a minute
14
ago.
targets.
14 targets, and I don't know if you guys caught this, but he did get a dinger. He was out for a little bit.
It's unbelievable.
Probably would have had 17, 18 targets. And I love in general. This goes back to you can go back to Ernest Givens of the Houston Oilers in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eric Metcalf with the Falcons in the 90s. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors had a guy named Devon Bass, played for the Dolphins, right?
Yes.
The slot wide out in June Jones's system gets a ton of looks. You got to do it. Cam Phillips in the XFL 2.0 with Houston. You got to do it. You got to roster this guy. Get in now. Is he on your team?
I haven't written down as a team, but I was also deciding between him and Blake Jackson, the other one for that same team, who had 11 targets, 8 for 51, not as explosive, but I mean.
I think some of that though was Pearson getting injured.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's why I do have Pearson in there, but like, I think everyone eats in this Seattle party.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter which one you throw in there.
J Mark, what are you doing here? Do you have Pearson on your team at all?
Pearson is my second wide receiver.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
We all have Pearson.
There we go.
Bring it up.
Play that music. I will play that music. DFS, always a fun time. All right. Well, I guess then it bounces back to me again, right?
Sure.
Well, I have one tight end and one running back left. I will go with the higher price of the two. Sal Canella.
Gotta love him.
It was to me, this guy I think is only going to continue to shine, and especially the chance that we might see. There's a chance that Sloter could get in there. They already have a rapport, at 6,500. That's what I went with.
Beautiful.
You have a tight end at all?
I don't have a tight end.
Okay.
Although if there was going to be a tight end, it's Sal Cannella or nobody for me.
What about your guy that you apologize about?
I love the Wolf. Listen, he's my guy. He's not. I am, sir, the piece of shit. I'll throw it right out there for saying that. I went with another high price at 8,200 and another name, which I don't like going for so much, but I think Saturday night in Vegas, Martavis Bryant, I think is going to have it. He had a nice he had 9 targets himself.
He's somewhere in those papers.
Somewhere in my papers. Someone give me the papers, not this paper. You throw the paper. Get that out of here. Why not the paper, not the small papers?
No, this one makes a lot of sense because I do feel like he's one of the most skilled players.
He's
in the
very
league.
skilled, absolutely, and he can take it to the house anytime he touches the ball.
Not concerned about the rain.
Not concerned about it. In Vegas, absolutely. I'm more concerned about Martavis Bryant being in Vegas.
Yeah,
flying in from Arlington. Then he kind of rain it's being on the field. So get him on a Saturday night and get that game over with. And don't follow him after midnight.
Come right in.
Yes.
Come right in. J Mark, who is your second to last guy?
Yeah, so first flex spot, Kalen Balazs. CJ laid it out, volume play here. He had so many carries. He's going to continue to be involved. And I love the way that he kind of almost tapped the quarterback on the shoulder and said, hey, look, that guy's going to be blitzing. That's a guy that's going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
If there's one flaw in my roster, and I thought about this, I was like, how do I not take this guy who just got way more touches than anyone in the league? Maybe that's the flaw of my lineup there. Yeah, can't complain with that. My final guy, this is one I took a little bit of a shot on, and I could eat shit on this one. I went with Brandon Knox, the kid out of Marshall that's playing for the Seattle Sea Dragons. I like the fact that running back gets touches out of the backfield, but I am concerned about the committing to the run. Hopefully they'll be up by a little bit where they'll have to commit to the run to get the game over with, to ease down on that clock.
And as J Mark said during the recap show, they bailed on that way too early. It was going well.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand, but I guess that's what you do when you run the run and shoot.
All right.
You live and die by it. So at 6,400, he's my final player. Besides that, obviously we have the defense left. Who's your final guy?
We're going Florida discounts. I need to get some Orlando receivers in there. I mean, I could have went back to back with the ghost receiver, but I already gave him enough shine. Fuck him. Until he gets on the show, he's not getting picked again. But I'll go with J Mark's guy. I'll bounce off his idea because he's our second guy. Corey Latimer at 3,700. That is absolute bargain shopping down there. Now I went to Francois down there. He had 6 targets last week, 5 for 68 and a touchdown.
Yeah,
NFL talent, and he knows the routes. And like I said, I think there's gonna be a rude awakening down in Florida now that the ankle bracelets are off.
And T-Buck's back home. He's
yes,
back
sir.
Home. Who's your final guy besides your defense, J Mark?
So I went with the guy that had the 3-point conversion, the late game heroics, Austin Prohl. I think there's a handful of plays that are slotted up just for him, just because his dad's the wide receiver coach, and you saw how pumped up his dad was after the touchdown.
What do you think?
He's only 4,000.
Right, he's cheap. I looked at him as well. Very cheap.
Well, I actually took him out. I had him in my lineup to replace him with Cannella. Do you think that's a mistake by me, J Mark?
I think both are solid. I think Cannella will get more looks.
Yeah,
now,
you can say you're watching.
Austin Prohl may have more designed plays for those 2 3-point plays or red zone plays, but Cannella's going to get more catches and kind of be more of a sure thing, I think.
My fear is this: with me going Cannella, what if Seattle? We all locked up Seattle. If they go up big, you're gonna have to commit to passing more, which means Austin Prohl can get more.
True.
Something to think about.
Could be a strategy out there.
Something to think about. Defense wise,
yeah.
I told you, I tipped my hand already. Greg Williams is the best defensive coordinator in this league. I think he's gonna make Luis Perez's life a living hell Saturday. DC defenders at 4,300 is my play. Watch out for this team. He alluded to it when they interviewed him. He said we should have had three picks, not just 2. What are you doing here defensively, CJ?
Well, I'm just going to ride the discount dog of the weekend, Orlando, at their cheapest defense at 3,100. You think Orlando's afraid of Jack Cohn down there in Florida when it's going to be prison rules? I mean, I just think they have a lot of things coming to them, and obviously they will run the ball with Hines Ward in that offense. And
It's hard to intercept screen passes. Though,
it's hard to intercept screen passes.
Throws. He's a true lawn chair. He's like, wow, check down king over here.
Yeah, but there's gonna be jumping. It's just different kind of rules in the state of Florida. There's gonna be shanks involved. I'm telling you, there's things. It's just
Vanilla Ice is selling houses.
A little after the I'm looking after the whistle calls. That's what I'm looking for.
J Mark, what are you doing defensively?
Okay, so I want to preface this with originally I had the Brahmas in, but since I'm zigging and putting Perez in, let's take the defenders. So if Perez is losing me points, that means the defenders are gaining me points.
Man, you are absolutely
chestnut checkers.
Self-hedging.
Right. Yeah.
J Mark's whiskey
Love
lunch
that.
self-hedging all weekend.
Yeah.
He's betting spreads and money lines on the same game, opposite effects. He's got quarterbacks going against his defense. He's just trying to get a nice stalemate for himself.
All right, so we're supposed to
let's run it off. Yeah.
One of the complaints was that we don't have our roster, so I'm going. I got Ben DiNucci, Brian Hill. I got Canella, Pearson as my wideouts. I got Borgi and Knox at the running back position with the DC Defenders defense. CJ, fire.
Also Ben DiNucci. Kellen Ballage is the only running back. Also Pearson, a receiver, but Martavis Bryant, Josh Gordon, Corey Latimer. And that bargain basement Orlando defense, 3,100.
J Mark, fire away with your roster. Your winning
Not a
roster.
complaint, a suggestion that we do. Luis Perez. I swapped out Ben DiNucci, Max Borgi, Deontay Burnett, Ja'Cory Pearson, Kalen Ballage, Austin Parole, and then the DC Defenders to offset Luis Perez's interceptions.
J Mark offset. You're the Migos of this show.
I like how you said Austin Parole, like he's on fucking parole.
You know what it was? I mean? It was saying Bellege that got him into it. Once he pronounced Bellege like that, they all started jumping. They all became 3-syllable names.
All right, folks, subscribe to the XFL Gambling Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in each and every single week. Like I said, there's a recap show. We're doing Sunday night. There'll be a reaction show. So make sure you check us out here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And we're new to YouTube, so get over there, subscribe on YouTube. You can watch it. Why just listen to it? You can see our beautiful faces. All right, let's go. And make sure you check out all of our other feeds here. You know, the old fashioned football podcast, J Mark and his wife breaking down everything.
Love
football.
it. Shout out to Mrs. Lady
the
J.
NFL Gambling Podcast. J Mark's doing stuff. We got the man in the box over here.
Bottom line bomb feed.
Yes. As I was going there. I had it. Check out Bottom Line Bombs, great podcast, and then check out the college football experience, the college basketball experience, USFL Gambling Podcast. There's a lot out there. College baseball, and some people like college baseball experience. Check it out.
Hardest working man in the network here.
Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast because they cover the XFL as well. So check out all that good stuff
with J Mark's notes. Apparently,
yeah.
Never forget, we cover it better. No.
Yes,
we do, and deeper. All right. Until Sunday night. Enjoy. Can't wait for Thursday night's action. This is the XFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.